please introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Nighthawk233. I hail from England and right next to Scotland. And I have, I've been playing duels for a couple of years now, and I've had a YouTube channel for the last, I don't even know, 2015, I think. Start of 2015, sometime around February. And so we've been going for about over 2 years now, which is a lot longer than I was expecting.
Well, you don't really have to be too modest. I think your channel is the second most popular regarding Magic Duels, at least in terms of subscribers and views.
I remember the days when I was doing it for like 50 people for like 6 months, so it's still a shock when I see how many people I got now.
Well, this is some good progress, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely a pleasant surprise that people like to listen to you.
How long have you been playing Magic the Gathering overall?
I started with Duels of the Planeswalker series. I jumped in, I think, 2013. I was very, very like casually played. I mean, put it this way: if you played an instant like end of turn, I would have thought you were like cheating or something. That's kind of the level of skill I was playing for the first couple of years I played Magic. I started with 2013. I was just messing around mostly with friends, stuff on like doing like free for alls and two-headed giants and stuff.
You were playing the Timo deck in the Steam Showdown tournament. I would like to ask you, how did you come to build this deck in this particular format?
This time around was kind of weird for me because I didn't like the other tournaments. I kind of had a good idea what I was going to play fairly early on, but this one, I don't know. It was a bit weird. Like there was nothing that really grabbed my eye. I decided that I wanted to play something more than straight up just a good deck. Like I didn't really want to play like a vehicle deck or a like a vehicle deck or snake deck, just because they're kind of straightforward. Like when the going's good with them kind of decks, yeah, you have fun. But when things tend to go south, they're very linear to play. Is what I'm trying to get at, really. So,
and did you get any help when making the deck? Maybe somebody inspired you or helped you?
Yeah, I got a lot of help from Cover Go Blue. He's a Twitch streamer.
I think he goes by Daniel Wagner on the YouTube, right?
And basically, he uploaded he did a video with this Teamer Emerge deck, and I kind of saw the list and instantly fell in love. It was doing a lot of things that I wanted to do in this tournament. I ran a lot of cards, which I thought were like you ran like Druid of the Cowl, Treasure Keeper. These are cards that I love a lot. So I basically took that list and then made a couple changes to make it a little bit better in the vehicle matchup, and then kind of just ran with that.
It turned out pretty well for you, didn't it?
I lost the first round, and then I actually didn't lose ever again for the tournament.
Right, yeah. I do remember that you were feeling a little bit down on the No Goblins Allowed forum.
It wasn't really like about the loss that particularly hurt. It was like outside the game stuff. I don't really mind losing. My opponent was a guy called Buffon. He's from Argentina, which is pretty much the opposite side of the world, and we had a lot of connection issues. We played, I think, 5 games, and we disconnected 2 of them.
Wow.
And it basically came down to that we really couldn't stay connected longer than like 5-10 minutes, which, because both our decks were fairly grindy, it basically meant one of us was going to get mana screwed to decide who was going to win the match, and then unfortunately that was me.
Oh, we cannot really guard against this, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got nothing against Buffon, he's a cool guy, but it was just an unfortunate situation. You know, your first round, you kind of want to get off to a good start, and I did not.
How did you prepare for the matchups? Did somebody help you playtest the decks of your opponents?
It was kind of interesting this time around because I ended up facing a green-black snake deck 5 times in this tournament. I playtested a bit with a couple of my friends, Joker, Gimmick Man. They were 2 people I tested with a lot. Faced the green-black deck so many times that I didn't really need to play that matchup anymore, just because I already knew exactly how I needed to play it, basically. So after the first couple of rounds, actually, I didn't do any playtesting for the top 8, for example.
It's quite interesting because there weren't that many snake decks, but you more or less got every single one.
I was just a magnet. I think I played every single snake player along the way. I ended up doing pretty well against them, so I can't really get. It's a good matchup. I wasn't complaining when I was getting all these snake players.
We had quite a lot of unique decks in the latest Team Showdowns. So there were Blue Flyers that went undefeated in the group round. There was your deck, Werewolves. It was quite interesting.
Really, really happy because, I mean, we all kind of pegged this tournament early on as it was going to be vehicle dominated. And then we saw these, and then just early on in the tournament, for example, there was Yonder with Dimir mid-range, and then there was Binderato with Mono Blue Flyers, and they both ended up meeting each other in the undefeated bracket. No one was expecting that. It was it was really pleasant, and yeah, like you said, it was good. So there was some good diversity this tournament, which I think was a nice surprise for everyone.
Nothing like the standard meta we see.
You do need a good deck. I mean, no one gets to the final like piloting a bad deck or anything, but once you get there, if you got good matchups along the way, like I'll take Binderato for example. He played a Mono Blue Flyers deck, and everyone kind of wrote it off just because he's running cards like Skyship Plunderer, which is just a 2/1 flyer for 2. I mean, that's not really impressive when you're looking at Heart of Kira. The thing is, his deck was built it did a really good job of preying on vehicles just because it ran loads of bounce spells. It got tempoed out; they couldn't really keep up, and it was just. You just saw that everyone was going to be playing vehicles, and you thought, well, I'll just bring something that no one's really expecting, and then take vehicles out, which I thought was pretty cool.
I think that for your deck as well, something that really played a huge role is the resilience of the deck. You had a lot of life gain there. You had a lot of good creatures that can help you take over the game once you get to them.
I think once my deck gets to the Team Emerge gets to the late game, there's not too much that can stop it. It's just you just keep trading off your creatures and then getting them back and just rinse, repeat, and then eventually they just can't keep up.
In the meta that we had when everything was more or less mid-range, a deck such as yours, which can survive the mid-range, the aggro and mid-range assault, especially when you play a best of 3 or in best of 5s, stood quite a good chance. But of course, it's really easy to say that right now that the tournament is over.
Yeah, I mean, if the deck hadn't gone well, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I do think I got a lot. I do think I got my fair share of luck along the way. I don't think the deck is like particularly unbeatable or anything, but so I did have some very kind top decks along the way.
I have to say that there isn't a single deck that I would say is unbeatable. This is Magic. Anything can happen. You can have the best deck. If you don't draw enough lands, you won't win.
Pretty much agree with you there. I don't think anything's unbeatable. But you do need the wind behind your sails and stuff. I mean, if you're drawn bad, you're rarely going to do too well. But if Lady Luck is smiling upon you, then anything can happen.
How many hours do you think it took for you approximately to test for the tournament itself with the tournament deck?
Once I decided I'd locked in on a Team Emerge, I did do a lot of testing with the deck just because I'd say, I don't know, I was playing about an hour a day, playing against random people on the ladder or against friends or whatever. Do some testing with some friends who I told before the deadline that I was playing Team Emerge, just so we could do some. I'd say it probably was about 10 hours in a week. I'd say Team Emerge late on, so I'd probably say it was only 1 week.
All right, so 10 hours of preparation, not too bad. But
Yeah.
we probably have to mention for the viewers that you have done some extensive deck building, and Team Emerge is something that you have played before in various settings, right?
I'd played Emerge before Aether Revolt. I played it back in like Kaladesh and Eldritch Moon, for example, so I kind of knew what was.
It was not something that you just picked up and in 10 hours you went and won the tournament.
No, I'd played the deck before, and I'd seen other people play it before. I think I'd probably watched, like I said, I mean, I watched a lot of Covert Go Blue play the deck, so I kind of knew what I was trying to do.
What do you think is the difference between somebody who is just good and who can be a champion in the tournaments, in Magic Duels and Magic in general?
Just one of the biggest things is picking the right deck for the tournament. If you're, say, like you're a dedicated like control player or something, just to bring a control deck to every tournament you play just because you like playing control, but at the same time, if control isn't particularly good at the time, then it's not really a good choice. So I think it's an important thing to like try and predict what everyone's going to be bringing for the tournament. It's not easy, and obviously you can be wrong. But for example, in the Aether Revolt one, if you predict a lot of vehicles, then it's a good idea to pack Rex Sages in your deck, for example. So I think before you even play a card, I think that's a good place to start between a good player and a. In these tournaments, we have deck lists. We have our opponent's deck lists, so it's a good idea to look at the cards which you can potentially play around and make a lot weaker for your opponent. For example, if they're Build to Smash. Build to Smash is a red, 1 red mana, and it is a +3/+3 and if attacking creature gets trampled, basically. This card, it means if you know your opponent has it, it means you kill their stuff before they can attack. and then they can't basically use it to protect their creature. If you can look at their removals good versus you, see what removals useless versus you. Another example is like sacrifice stuff. If they run stuff like a Flashback Marauder, then you want to be keeping some bad creatures around just to protect your better creatures from sacrifice effects. So it's, I think, playing around cards, looking at your opponent's deck list and seeing what cards you can exploit to make a lot worse for your opponent is a good idea.
I think that's some pretty solid advice. And what was the most intense moment of this competition?
Oh, there's a couple. The first one that comes to mind is probably the quarterfinal match versus the mono blue flyer deck we've been talking about. I'd say that was as close as I got to being straight up eliminated from the tournament. It went to 3 games, and we played all the games are very. We kind of went back and forth. I won game 1, he won game 2, and then game 3 we had a really long grindy match. We were both kind of relying on top decks and stuff, and then eventually, I mean, it just went back and forth and stuff. It was a very close game, and luckily I managed to scrape over the line.
So out of those 3 games, which one was the most intense one? The third one?
Oh yeah, definitely the third one. I think game one I got a very good draw, and then my opponent got a decent draw, and then I managed to kind of win, not comfortably, but it was like a solid performance. And then game 2 was kind of the reverse, where my draw was just decent, his was very good, and then game 3 we both just had a very good draw. So we just kind of threw everything we had at each other. I kept bringing back Ishkanas, but then he kept bouncing them and punching through them and stuff, and then it kind of kept just going over and over again, and then eventually I managed to just scrape over the line. I think I was on like 3 life or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was it was a close game.
You've participated in quite a few showdowns now, and how many times did you make it into the top 8?
4 tournaments in total now, and this was I said it on my tournament match as well, but this is the only one I've kind of done well in at all. I think the first one I went 2-3, second one I went 2-3, and then my third one I went 1-4. So it looked like I was declining, but I managed to luckily just kind of bring it back for this one.
Well, they say persistence is a virtue.
Yeah, I wish I could say third time's a charm, but apparently, I kind of left that one on the third.
The result is good nonetheless, right? And
Oh yeah, I'm
that's
not
what
complaining.
counts.
I'm not complaining at all. The thing is, I don't think I was that much of a better player this time around than from my last ones. I just think I played a better, like going back to what's the difference between a good player and a champion? I think I just bring a better deck this time around, like for the tournament and the meta and stuff, and got a bit more luck in the matchups and stuff, and then that eventually just kind of carried me to top 8, where I managed to scrape over the line, basically.
Well, I'd say that anticipating the metagame in the tournament is of critical importance to any good pro player, because in Magic in general, in Magic Duels, you have a rock paper scissors situation, give or take with the aggro, midrange, and control. Some of them can beat the other one, but are beaten in turn by others. So if you are anticipating that it will be a mid-range fest, then if you are more on the control side, you will do better, right?
Pretty much you just summed it up there. My deck, for example, is very good against control and mid-range. They're kind of the matchups it preys upon. And the aggro matchups, that's where this deck is not as good as... I only faced 2 aggro decks in this tournament, the mono blue flyer deck and the vehicle deck in the semifinals. So, I mean, if you play, like, I played 8 matches and only faced a bad matchup twice, so I was pretty happy with my deck choice in this tournament, just from that, if you know what I mean.
What do you think of the future tournaments, and what would you like to see change in them?
Generally, the thing I'd like to see more is more... I'd like to see more people recording their matches. It's nice to be able to see an interesting deck and then see how they progress through the tournament and stuff. And it helps solve like rules disputes and stuff. The cool decks such as the mono blue flyers, the Demir Drange, and I really enjoyed watching them perform in the Steam in the Swiss rounds, for example, and stuff. So I think I'd like to see more recording, more people recording their videos, maybe with commentary as well, because that makes it a lot more enjoyable. I like it when people talk while they're playing the matches.
Yeah, and perhaps explain some of their choices, because I do also get quite a lot of insight when I see people play, especially good players, and this is how you get better yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to watch someone playing a deck, but then if they're explaining why they're not, like if they leave a blocker back, for example. It's really cool to get people's what they're thinking while they're playing the match. It's obviously different to what probably people outside the match are thinking.
Do you want to say anything to the viewers of this video?
To say thanks for the tournaments if you've been watching the videos or anything. And apart from that, just keep smiling, keep trucking away.
Just keep trucking. You heard it here first. All right, thanks.